What an ongoing story I have for you today. I know you're all aware of Trump's New York trial. Trump fraudulently inflated his net worth by up to $2.2 billion. New York judge rules. No, that's not the new ruling. That's the original ruling. The ruling is a blow for Trump and his business empire in the run-up to a civil fraud trial, which we are now in the midst of. Now, Trump has contested this. Of course he has. Trump returns fire against New York AG Letitia James over net worth fraud allegations. I was targeted. Many would agree with that statement. The Political article goes on to state Attorney General Tisha James' office has submitted conclusive evidence that the former president and his co-defendants overvalued their assets by between $812 million and $2.2 billion from the years of 2014 to 2021. The judge, who I don't feel is worthy to be named in this trial because of his actions as a judge, wrote in a court filing, even in the world of high finance, this court cannot endorse a proposition that finds a misstatement of at least $812 million to be immaterial. But wait now. Politico pointed out $2.2 billion, and the judge says up to $812 million. But you see, this is all about optics, isn't it? Making Trump look as if he has extorted everyone in the world. As part of his ruling, the judge canceled the business certificates of all of the defendants. Then it happens. Trump puts the court in an absolute panic, a hysteria. As he reaches into his pocket to pull out, the judge yells, "No, no, no, Trump." And that's the story we're going to cover for you today. Before I do, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, make sure you do. As you know, I have one means of supporting me here. You could join as a member. I love you, however, to go to where I can give you something more. I can give you more news. Lisa Haven gives you more news. Not only the material we publish on all the platforms, but our exclusive content only found at Restricted Republic. Get there today. Discount code INDEPENDENT. Declare your independence from mainstream media. Free your mind. Join us at Restricted Republic. Discount code INDEPENDENCE. Monthly checkout. $4 a month. 2 years plus 14 days for free. Find our heart and our soul on that platform. You'll be shocked to hear what a real exchange of ideas and information is meant to sound like. RestrictedRepublic.com. Now let's get back on with this broadcast. He who shall not be named a judge. Mr. Keiss, can you control your client? This is not a political rally. Maybe you should have a talk with him right now. Keiss disagrees and says it would be far more economical to let the former and future chief executive of the United States to give his answers, but they don't want to hear from Trump, do they? No, they want to railroad Trump. They want to shut him down. They want to embarrass him. They want to mock him. They want to keep him in continual trials and make him look like an absolute fraud. That's what this is about, ultimately. He who shall not be named is clearly very frustrated with Trump. Tells his lawyer, Chris Keiss, to control his client as he testifies. I beseech you to control him if you can. If you can't, I will. I will excuse him and draw every negative interference that I can. Again, a clown show, a mockery of a trial. I'll show you a video clip that started off the entire mockery in just a second. I urge the court to take in all information as possible. Again, you have on the stand a candidate for president of the United States. The most efficient way, isn't it funny how the two quotes don't line up? Quotes are supposed to mean exactly what someone said. But two different publications, two different quotes. Not uncommon at all in mainstream media. At all. The most efficient way to get through this is to listen to what he has to say about what happened and why there's no intent to mislead anyone. I believe that's highly relevant and highly probative. He goes on. How about his other attorney? Gets more aggressive. The burden is on the Attorney General to ask better questions. He who shall not be named states, we are not here to hear what he has to say. We are here to listen to him answer questions. Well, when you answer questions, you would be listening to what he has to say, but that's neither here nor there because the judge appears to want to take center stage at all times. She pushes back. Yes, you are here to listen to what he has to say. He who shall not be named reiterates he is here to listen to Trump answer questions and then loses his temper. Sit down, he screams at her. He instructs Wallace to continue, but not before Trump adds, this is a very unfair trial. But you see, his attorney didn't sit back. Oh, no. She, like Trump, always too has something to say, so she defends herself and in what I'd consider a perfect response.
You have a right to hire a lawyer who can stand up and say something when they see something wrong. But I was told to sit down today. I was yelled at, and I've had a judge who is unhinged slamming a table. Let me be very clear. I don't tolerate that in my life. I'm not going to tolerate it here.
Impeccable reply. Impeccable reply, just adding to the fury around the entire trial. Trump fraud trial live updates. Ex-President Donald Trump wraps up testimony, but not before he put the courtroom in an absolute panic. So what did he do to put the courtroom in a panic? He pulled out a piece of paper that was worthy of the judge screaming out no 3 times. We'll get to the crux of this story. Happening in New York, which we're supposed to take for granted in this trial, is the epitome of everything that's perfect in America. So they are the ones to judge anyone, the ones who have the steepest population decline in the last year, the ones who have one of the biggest budget gaps ever. But they understand money, they understand financing, and they understand the legalities of it all. Said no one ever. But let's not forget the imagery and optics of this all. One of the best clips I've seen, just showing all the players. Trump, resolute, somber, some would say, focused, angered. The prosecution. Soon they'll show the Attorney General, Letitia James, sitting there trying to look stoic in this, well, call it what you will, clown show of a trial. But then comes the image that set everyone off. A judge presiding over the very integrity of a presidential candidate. The future, as many would say, chief executive officer of the United States or president. And here he goes. What a clown show, posing for the camera, nearly mocking Trump, an image that no one will ever forget. It inspired a reaction from Trump. Of course it did. Statement on truth, 45th president of the United States. But remember, this is all about a piece of paper. But that paper is extremely relevant to all of it. Financial statements, the disclaimer clause telling anyone reviewing the data, including financial institutions, to do their own research and analysis. It is a non-reliance clause, and that is what many are guesstimating was on the piece of paper that Trump went to pull out. The judge backs that up. I'll read his statement in just a moment. And could not be more clear. Additionally, to my being worth far more than it shows in the fully disclaimed financial statements, again, not putting down a value for my biggest asset, the brand, his brand, the Trump brand. The company has hundreds of millions of dollars cash and very little debt, but that wasn't enough to stop this trial, and that wasn't. Trump declares the judge has gone crazy in his hatred of Trump. Also, their star witness just admitted his statements were all a big lie, but it makes no difference because he who shall not be named. What is he all about? Well, we could take some high-profile cases of which he ruled, and both rulings were overturned. Not a great record. He's also a member of the American Civil Liberties Union. However, the American Civil Liberties Union sided with Trump over the gag order that the member or ex-member, he who shall not be named, put down on Trump himself. None of this makes any logical sense whatsoever, but that piece of paper during testimony that Trump says would completely vindicate him. I would love to read this, Your Honor, if I could. Not at this point. Not at this point. The judge replied, of course, another publication stating something slightly different. I'll show you in a second. I'm shocked, Trump answered. Of course you wouldn't allow me. He called me a fraud, he stated, and he didn't know anything about me, Trump shouted, pointing at the judge, according to the Post. He then included the Attorney General. The fraud is on the court and not on me. The fraud is on her. People calling Trump unhinged. But the judge is the one. Again, another different quote. No, 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 he said. We're not going to hear about the disclaimer clause. If you want to hear about the disclaimer clause, read my opinion again from the first trial. You're wrong in your opinion, Trump declared. He called me a fraud and he didn't know anything about me. Now, why would the mainstream media have two completely different quotes? Because it depends on the spin and the context they wanted it in, which doesn't make it media. It doesn't make it news, and it doesn't make it journalism. Journalism should be putting down accurate quotes. But I just showed you two glaring examples of how two major publications can't even get the quotes right because they're so bound in their ire for Trump that they want to make sure they exude the proper messaging, not the actual messaging. But of course, that's why you're here for these stories. We have a disclaimer clause that says, do your own due diligence. Don't under any circumstance count on anything in here, Trump said, of the financial statements. If you are borrowing money, they were not really documents that the banks paid much attention to. They looked at the deal, they looked at the asset, but these were not very important because they believed in the brand. But the Attorney General and he who shall not be named obviously feel much different. The brand is insignificant. The brand must be destroyed, and the brand is guilty. At least we saw in the first ruling, as I'm sure in some way, shape, or form we will see in the second ruling also of this civil trial. The fact that a civil lawsuit is being brought in a case that's supposedly based on that estimation, as though the bankers who backed Trump just rolled into town on a load of turnips with hay in their hair and $1 billion in their pocket. I love this statement by the Western Journal. It's beyond ridicule. The fact that the judge in the case is disallowing a document that makes that clear to all parties concerned that the borrower's estimation is not to be trusted puts it in the realm of disgrace. In a sane world, no attorney general would approach such a case. No judge would let it proceed. And no judge certainly would run the case the way he who shall not be named has run it to date. But again, y'all know what this trial is about. And Trump and his attorneys continue to call it out, or else the pulling of a simple piece of paper out of a suit coat that would truly exonerate Trump would not cause the panic or yelling in the courtroom it did. But you see, if you were to interpret the yelling, what it should have actually stated, in our opinion, is we don't want to hear from you. We don't want to hear your opinion. We care nothing about what you have to say. Let us frame in the evidence against you. Let us only allow in what will not exonerate you, and there shall be no evidence to the contrary, so you will be guilty. Because that is the only interpretation anyone could conclude from what is happening in this civil trial of Donald J. Trump. I love you all. Until next time, Godspeed and God bless. Justus Knight, signing out.